it's Angel Vane, and this is episode 74 of My Author's Diary. I am an author of crime thrillers for women, and every week I take you through the ups and downs that I go through as I try to write and publish new books. So don't forget to follow or subscribe me if you haven't done so already. So I'm going to kick off this week with a NaNoWriMo update. So this past week, especially if you're an American like me, has been an emotional roller coaster. And I'm really glad that I was actually able to write with everything that was going on in our country this week. So my NaNoWriMo total for week 1 is 9,972 words. Now, that is below my target because when I think about 4 weeks being in November, trying to split up the 4 weeks, the 50,000 words over 4 weeks, I should be writing 12,500 words per week to make sure I can hit that target. Well, yeah, had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that was very distracting, so fell a little bit short on that. So I'm off by about 2,500 words. And for me, I typically write scenes that are around 1,700 words in length. That's, on average, that's where I kind of land. That's kind of my sweet spot of how long I want my scenes to be. Because I do write suspense, right? So I don't want to have extra long drawn out scenes with all this stuff happening. And I feel like if you have one of those little ... breaks in between your scene, you're basically just creating a new chapter, right? So I just create a new chapter. But anyway, so for me, that means I'm about a scene and a half behind. And so when I think about, okay, well, what do I have upcoming for me coming up this week? The 12,500 words that I need to write for this week and the catch up for last week, that puts me at about 9 scenes that I have to write, or 9 chapters that I have to write, which is completely doable. And my saving grace in all of this is that I'm actually taking the week of Thanksgiving off for work. So if I completely blow it and I fall completely off track, it's okay. Because I'll be on vacation for 5 full days and I can write all day and all night until I catch up or until I hit my 50,000 words. And I can tell you that even with everything that was going on this week, I've ended the week feeling so inspired. Not going to get into a lot of political stuff because I know there are people who were on both sides of this, of the decision. So people who are super excited, some people who are very disappointed right now, but just stepping back and look at it big picture, I'm just so inspired to be living in a time where we have our first female vice president ever in the history of our country. And for those of you guys who live in other countries, y'all have had this before. Y'all have had prime ministers and stuff and presidents that have been females, but this is like historic and monumental. And so it's a huge inspiration to me. And then it's also a huge inspiration to see that our president-elect, this was not his first time trying to become president. Like, he's been trying for decades. This has been a dream for him for decades, and to get it finally after doing, trying for like 30 or 40 years or whatever the number is, and to finally have your dreams come true, just shows perseverance and a commitment to not giving up on your dreams. And so when I think about myself as an author, I think about my books and like, why aren't my books selling more? Right? But then I think, okay, no, you just have to keep at it. Don't give up. Keep trying, keep writing. You get good feedback on your writing. Don't throw in the towel. Don't get discouraged. This is a process. Yes, some people have success right away. Other people have to wait years before they get success. But I will never get to success if I stop trying, right? And so I'm very inspired now to keep trying, keep writing, keep pressing, and get my work out there. And hopefully readers will be entertained, see it as a way to escape and enjoy it, and buy up my books like crazy. Yay! So that's just my little sidebar. Now let's get to my issue that I was dealing with this past week. So for NaNoWriMo, I am writing book 4 of the Hero in Paradise series. So it's like, I had to kind of stop for a moment because I'm like, I am about to wrap up this whole story arc. Like, the 4th book is about to be done. And it just seems like I just finished writing The Accidental Hero, book 1 of the series, yesterday, right? And to think that I've already published book 2, book 3 is going to be coming out in December, and I'm currently working on book 4. I'm just like shocked and a little bit like, it's a little surreal. It's very, very surreal for me right now. And it is exciting because after I finish writing this, then I get a chance to go into something new and discover new characters and kind of delve into something new. But I got to get book 4 written first. And so the thing that has popped up, my series drama for the Hero in Paradise series, is that writing the last book of the series is difficult. Trying to end your series comes with a lot of complexities. And I have encountered 5 complexities, issues, things that I need to make sure that I'm, staying on top of as I'm trying to end this series in book 4. So I'm going to crank through them so you can kind of see what I'm dealing with, what my thoughts are. And if you're a writer, you can see, like, have you dealt with this before? Or as a heads up on what you might be dealing with. And hopefully you guys as readers will just find this interesting to kind of see behind the curtain of an author and trying to write books. The first issue, this is book 4. I've written 3 books with a lot of details in them. And guess what? She can't remember all those details. And so I know I want certain things to happen in the book. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. How exactly did this happen in book 2? Or now I'm pulling for book 1. Do I really remember like how it all played out so that I don't end up writing something in book 4 that's internally inconsistent with book 1? Like, I am finding that I have to go back to book 1, book 2, and the book 3 that hasn't even been published to make sure that I'm not messing something up in the timeline of how I actually told the first stories. And it is time consuming. It is extremely time consuming. And then on top of that, the added complexity to this issue is that when I wrote each one of the books before book 4, like, it went through several iterations. And I'm talking about multiple drafts. So like for the Accidental Hero, I probably have like 25 drafts of that thing. Because, I worked on that for like 2 years. Then for the Relentless Hero, I probably have a good 10 drafts of that. The Fallen Hero, I'm getting better, y'all. Not so many drafts. I have 6 drafts of the Fallen Hero. And what's interesting is that with each iteration of the draft, sometimes entire plot points or subplot points or certain connections to make a plot flow get deleted and changed to something different. Yet here I am trying to plot and write book 4, and I'm remembering something, and I'm like, oh yeah, where is that? Because I remember that she did XYZ, only to find out it didn't make the cut to the final version. And I'm like, I didn't put that in the final version? It really didn't make the cut? And then I have to go back and be like, okay, well now in book 4, I can't really reference that, or I can't really talk about that. Now what I'm gonna do, because I see what I actually replaced it with, or that it just ended up not even be a part of it. So then I have to like tweak and change things. And so that's the part that's so surreal, because my memory of what's in the book sometimes includes things that I know I wrote, but I cut from the book. And so it's actually not in the books that are out there available for purchase. So I gotta be very, 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 very careful on checking for internal consistency between the 3 books before the last book to make sure that I'm not referencing something that technically is not in those earlier books, right? So that's the first complexity, and that's something where I know I'm gonna have to spend some time after NaNoWriMo to make sure that I tie off loose ends and put kind of notes to myself on things that I need to check, because again, like, I gotta crank through the 50,000 words right now. I don't have time to stop and do all of that research. That is something that's gonna have to be a part of the editing process for book 4 of the series. Now, the second thing that I'm dealing with is that, again, have written 3 books with a rotating cast of characters, a lot of new characters, and now you're sitting with book 4, and I'm trying to encapsulate all of the other books, bring back people from the other books, and I have a ton of characters. So I started trying to populate all of my characters in Plotter so I can see who are all my options, who are all the people that Julian and Mina have interacted with in book 1, book 2, and book 3, to know who I could like mine from in book 4 to make them come back and do something, so that it kind of triggers a memory of something that they did, 2 books ago or 1 book ago or something like that. So I think that would be like a really good connection. Why is the list so long? Why did I create so many characters, y'all? I think, okay, so it's no secret. General Hospital is my guilty pleasure. I grew up watching soap operas. I used to watch every soap opera that came on television when I was in college. So I am a soap opera lover. And guess what? Soap operas deal with a lot of characters. And I find that I write my stories bringing in a lot of secondary characters, a lot of secondary characters that I can use. And so really, I got too many characters. I'm like, oh, but you can't bring them all into book 4. You have to like choose some and leave some out. And so that part has been kind of a little gut wrenching, because I really want everybody who has been in any of the books before to make an appearance in the last book, but I know that that's not going to be possible. So really trying to choose from all of my baby characters, to decide which ones get a chance to be in this last hurrah, this last book, and which ones that I just, can't fit them in. Like, that's tough. That's really tough. But I know I'm gonna have to just like be really surgical about it, focusing on the plot and just really picking the characters that I think will best help me to advance the plot of book 4. The third issue, and this one, y'all, I'm so worried about this one. So when you think about writing a series, I have heard too many and read about too many people who have read book series and they're like, book 1 was fabulous, but the rest of the books just kind of got wah as I continue to read, right? So the last thing that I want to happen with my series is for people to be like, yeah, the best book really is book 1, because the rest of the series it's just so-so, right? I don't want that. So I am pushing myself so hard to try to find ways to really raise the stakes so that when you read book 4, you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe all of this is happening. How are they going to get out of this mess? How is this going to even be resolved? How are they going to get the final victory over the bad guy? Like, I really want to raise the stakes so high, right? And so it's tough, because to raise the stakes, it means I have to put my protagonist through horrible situations. And some of the things I've plotted out so far, like, I reread them, like on the second or third day of NaNoWriMo, because I was trying to look ahead to, okay, what scenes are coming up. And I reread some of the stuff that I'm going to put Julian through. And I just, like, it really caught, like, I got a little emotional. I was like, I don't want him to go through that. Like, that's hard. Like, do I really want him to, like, go through something that bad? But then I just step back and I'm like, well, that's the only way to really raise the stakes and amp up book 4 so that people really believe that they've gotten the best ending of the entire series and not have a letdown for the way the series ends, right? So I really am raising the stakes. I'm really putting Julian and Mina through more difficult situations, very tough danger. I'm trying to like really bring that in so that when you look at the whole arc, you could be like, I really want people to be able to say, every book just got better and better and better and better. And I was guilty in Relentless Hero of not having enough romance in my books. And I was like, I got that comment and a review. I was like, whoa. I did a video on it. I knew it was true. I knew in my gut it was true. I rectified that in The Fallen Hero, and I am not losing sight of that in book 4, The Unexpected Hero. I have gone back through and I'm making sure that I make a note. 1, don't have Julian and Mina apart for 50% of the book. Like, just don't do that. Now, again, with suspense and the conflict, they will be apart for the first 25% of the book, so the whole first act. But then after that, they're back, they're back interacting with each other in some form or fashion. I don't want to give too much away. So I'm really trying not to lose sight of that romance, that intimacy, those aspects of the plot. And because me, I get sucked into like the suspense, the bang bang, the murder, the killing, the go get your vengeance. Like, that's the part that really like excites me. And sometimes I do forget to tie in enough of the romance to make it, truly like a more balanced romantic suspense. So that is, that's a complexity. Like, this is the last book. This is the last hurrah. I really want it to be great. Then that means I have to raise the stakes and really push the envelope. And I have to push myself to put my characters through things that will be really difficult for them. But hopefully it makes it such a memorable and enjoyable story for those of you who will read it. And then the fourth thing that I really wanted to show was growth of my characters, right? So that I feel like, both Julian and Mina are on a positive character arc. And so I want, when you read book 4, to see them responding differently to things now than they did in the past. I think Mina is closer to that right now in the book. I kind of feel like Julian is a little flat. He's kind of still responding to things the way he has, and maybe that's okay, because maybe, you know, his arc kind of just really happened in book 1, and there's not much change to him. But I am trying to see a progression, especially in Mina's character, and I think I'm getting that down. Might need a little more tweaking, but I do want you to see growth in their characters, and I want you to see how the things that they have gone through in book 1, book 2, and book 3 are impacting how they are behaving and reacting to things that happen in book 4. And I want it to make logical sense. I want you to be like, yes, I believe Mina would do this, and yes, I believe Julian would do that. I don't want you to read book 4 and be like, she messed up these characters. They're not acting like they should be acting. Like, I don't want anybody to think that. So that takes some time, right? Because I am changing how they're reacting based off of the past, but I want people to feel like that makes sense, that they're now reacting in this way because they went through this and they went through that, and they've changed and they've learned and they've grown. They've shown some growth. So yeah, working hard on that. It ain't easy. And then the last thing, the 5th thing that I'm dealing with as I'm trying to write this first draft of The Unexpected Hero is really trying to make sure that I have a good grasp on what are the unanswered questions in the series, and to make sure that I wrap up all of those and give everybody a satisfying ending to all of the unanswered questions. The last thing I want people to write in the reviews or whatever is that, oh yeah, but she didn't explain what happened with blah. And that happened to me with the Accidental Hero, but I had done that on purpose, right? So there's a lot of reviews on the Accidental Hero where people are saying, well, we still never found out what, you know, what the deal was with Mina and her backstory and her husband. Well, I didn't tell y'all in book 1 because I knew that that was going to be a larger part of the story as the series, you know, moved on. So I didn't want to give too much away. I didn't give anything away, basically. Just kind of introduced that it exists, but I didn't really tell anything more about it in book 1. And then in book 2, you got a little bit more in The Fallen Hero. Book 3 coming out in December. In the next month, December 2020, you're going to see a whole lot more about Mina and her backstory. And then book 4, I want to make sure that any unanswered questions, any things that need to be tied off, any loose ends, they are all tied off and wrapped up in book 4. And so that's really going to take me being critical, going back through the old books, y'all, to make sure that I remember, here's what I wrote, here's what I wrote, here are the things that I left dangling. Do I need to say something, make some scenes happen so that I'm able to tie out the things that I didn't explain and didn't wrap up in the earlier books? So yeah, that's a big kind of, you know, challenge when you're trying to wrap up a series. And it's dawned on me that it's like, okay, I feel like, you know, and y'all know I love revision, but I do feel like my revision process and kind of the checks that I need to do for this book 4 is going to be a little extended compared to the other books, because this is the last book, right? So I have to make sure that it is the be all and the end all of the Hero in Paradise series and leaves everybody with a satisfying conclusion and ending to the whole Julian and Mina love story and suspense story. And I guess that's it. So if you want to continue to keep up with me and all the ups and downs that I go through as I try to write and publish new books, click the subscribe button so you won't miss when I'm doing a video, and I will see you next time.